Hello wonderful people, Connor Whitmore here again with another video for you on the Nawtystep channel, and today I'm going to be doing a live review of the new compilation from Interval Interim Season 5. As always, a lot to get through here, 23 tunes, so just going to get straight into it pretty much, and yeah, here we are. Yet again, Interval, one of the most celebrated labels in underground bass music, period, and back again here with their first compilation of the new year, and I imagine there'll be many over the course of 2021 from them, and yeah, very excited to see what their latest has to offer. A pretty fantastic list of names on show here, so yeah, hearing them all for the first time, providing comment along the way. You know how we do. Let's go. First up here, we have the Endless Smile VIP from Taneki. Okay, let's go. Very nice introduction. Loving it. Melodically, I think really on point. Got a nice musicality running through the heaviness here. But yeah, the backdrop, not quite backing that up, I wouldn't say.
Endless Smile VIP.
The idea's good, and I love the dynamic between the sounds we're getting here. But yeah, it could just do with just a lot more snappiness and kind of beefiness at the backdrop with the percussion, you know? Really would elevate that idea just up a whole other level. Great range of sounds on show, and the energy of it fantastic. Again, like I said before, melodically very on point. And yeah, just really, really kind of surging and ravenous feel to it, gravelly almost throughout the whole thing, which I liked, you know, kind of grainy but in a good way. Can't also forget the introduction, which was really good as well, really like that, and the vocal samples are very, very on point. Yeah, I think the overall feel here I'm really enjoying. I really like that about it, and again, that thing of having the range of sounds and the dynamic between them in the heaviness, you know, it kind of kept your attention in that way, but you know, a bit of potential lost perhaps in the fact that yeah, the backdrop just could have given it way more, well, far more impact on the initial hit of each one, and then as it develops as well. A lot of good to that one, and for me, outweighing the not so good here, you know, just about tipping the balance like that. But in the focal moments, yeah, just needed a bit more oomph to it to really take it up to that other level. But yeah, for the most part, I think, yeah, a lot of good here. Next up, we have Stratus by Exton. Okay, let's go. Beautiful. A classic, drawn out, full of scope kind of introduction here from Exton. Loving it. Oh. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, liking this tune quite a bit. Really good variety on show there when it comes to ideas without doing too much different from the original idea, if you get me. Oh, so good. I love that. You know, if we are talking about it being tear out, then that's kind of, you know, maybe unleashing it in a new way with that real melodic flavor running through it. And, you know, we got that, you know, as a kind of extension of the introduction, which is just beautiful. And he's become so good at honing that part of his production and really getting that up and just, you know, giving it as much scope and atmosphere as possible. Very classically influenced, I would say, and the prowess on that front really shining through. And I think with a drop like that, with drops like that, I think, you know, you run the risk of it just becoming a bit too heavy, a bit too full on, but the melody was just ever present, just really driving it forward, giving it flavor and color and life, and never getting lost in itself. And it was catchy as well, you know, the kind of do 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 do. That was infectious stuff. and it makes me want to go back to it. My one drawback, I think, would have to be the builds, which for me, I think they were really good. showed a lot of promise in the few seconds we got and could have been a lot longer, more drawn out, could have made for a more epic build in the lead up to the heaviness. But yeah, beyond that, I think that's my main drawback. But yeah, aside from that, we're looking at a good tune here, and that will probably be one of my favourites once we get to the end. But now to hear the rest of them, of course. Then we have Nimda and Outlaw with Clotted. Okay, funny name. Let's go. Oh! Shit! Oh, that is fucking filth, man. The bounciness of that with those little wub 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 wub. Bellissimo. Ooh. Oi, 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 come on, come on. Them, wub 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 wub. Okay, the kind of tune for me that you would just call extremely solid, you know, not doing the most or having the most outlandish or outrageous ideas, but what they do is just done extremely well. From the production to the overall feeling of it, the emphatic delivery of the ideas, and the way it's all put together, you know. I think for me, the second drop came a little bit just out of nowhere, and for me didn't quite fit in with the tune overall as a kind of, not only as an idea, but the way the sounds were kind of brought together for me didn't quite make sense. Had bits of memery in there as well, which made it quite funny. And also I want to touch on the introduction and build, which I think developed in a really steady and sure way, you know, not kind of rushing it into the heaviness too quickly and just building in that slow and sure way. It did wonders for, you know, allowing the impact of that first drop to really be felt. The only glaring moment in that department, again, being that second drop, which to me just felt slightly out of place, but which did again grow to become quite an emphatic part of the tune, just like the first drop. So yeah, that was good. That was good. After that, we have Hellhounds by Zenith and Noir. Let's go. Quick build. I love that. Quick again into it. Stop it. Get out. Get out. Fuck off. No, I'm done. I'm done. The quality here, I mean, when do you stop calling someone underground? Do you know what I mean? That is a joke. That is a joke. For the most part, that would have to be my pick so far. I think, you know, the way it's executed, the ideas just so guttural, you know, really, really getting deep and cutting with the ideas and the sounds on show, and produced really well as well. I think, for me, in terms of stuff that's kind of stopping me from going outright, it's going to be my favourite here, is I think with the, maybe not so much an outright drawback, but for me the build moments could have had it just, or could have been fleshed out just a bit more. Those plucked strings, that quick little snippet of that each time, I think that whole section just could have been stretched out a bit in preparation for the heaviness that we get. And also the second drop just didn't quite feel as impactful. You know, the idea was good again, but the overall sound and the way it was kind of produced and fleshed out, and just, yeah, the overall production of it didn't feel quite as emphatic and impactful. But my word, I mean, the good we get here is very, very good. I mean, that's the kind of ideas that I love. Then we have Aimless with disco music. Sounds chirpy, sounds fun, let's go.
Music.
Ooh, okay. Fucking hell. I thought we were going to get some kind of hybrid trap bleepy bloopy tune, the way that each drop kicked off with that really sharp percussion and those lasers kind of firing off, if I remember right. But I think for the most part what we do get is it's quite manic dubstep. The at points feels to me a bit haphazardly put together and like it doesn't quite have an idea shining through, and not messy, you know, I wouldn't go that far, but kind of like the sounds are a bit thrown together, if you get me, and don't have something coherent shining through. I think there's a lot of flavour running through the heaviness we get. And yeah, also points, even though I said, you know, there are moments where it feels maybe a bit, you know, haphazardly put together, there are also moments where there's an idea shining through and you can glean that from it. There's a part of me that wishes in a way that the percussion that kicks off each drop had continued in that vein with each drop, and, you know, kind of carried on in that sharp way, but no, I'm enjoying the flavour and colour of it, as I mentioned before. Even though it does feel a bit all over the place at points, I think the energy of it is it's got an uplifting tone to it, which is good for this dark kind of music. But yeah, for me, some good here, some not so good in pretty much equal measure. Moving on, we have Sensor Fusion by Devath. Let's do it. Yeah. Woohoo! Bleepy bloopy and a bit more sped up, I think, than usual for him, which is awesome. I'm liking that. A lot of fantastic sounds and mechanical, but not over the top, which is good. I like that about this style. Ooh. Oh! It's just exciting, it's fun, and it keeps your attention, which is important for the whole thing. You know, I could sit here, I really could sit here and say that the percussion isn't quite on point enough, because the snare is just, it's grainy, it's not very nice on the ear, just not supporting what's on top, but, you know, I don't really want to take away from the fun of the idea, the energy of it, and just how well it's put together for the most part. You know, the idea keeps evolving and mutating, and the sound never really becomes dry or flat at any point. You know, maybe a little bit in the second drop initially, when it comes in that first moment, you know, just a little bit, but not a lot. And it's always got that kind of mechanical, melodic flavour running through it, and yeah, fun, exciting, joyous even, I would say. So yeah, more good stuff there from Devath. Following on from there, we have Are You Ready by Ecto. Yes, I am. Let's go. Which way is it going, man? No, no. Oi. 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 Could have had a break moment at that point. I think maybe going on for a bit too long now. Yeah, I've said it before, when you've got a straightforward idea but the production's good, then, you know, it can be not that active as a concept overall, but still be good for the production. It's just solid, man. Like, you can't help but rock along to it because the production's on point. It's straightforward, it's simple, but sometimes simple can be very effective, especially when the sound is just making you move like that, you know, like fucking hell, let's go. See, at that point, like the first drop should end there, and I think the track should end at that point. Simple, to the point, effective with what it wants to do, loving the windy feel of the dubstep we got there, and yeah, one point, my only point really of kind of, well, a drawback kind of thing would be that, yeah, for me, each drop just went on for a bit too long and could have been cut a bit to make for a more cohesive tune overall here, and something just a bit more neatly packaged, and which doesn't overstay its welcome, if you get me. But yeah, aside from that, simple idea, well cut and well produced, and a good vocal sample to go with that, and yeah, just a good bop because of that production, which, you know, if it wasn't on point, then I wouldn't feel like I can move along with it. But because of that, it's a good, yeah, it's just getting me moving and getting me rocking along with it, which is what you want that kind of music to do if it hasn't got a particularly out there or, yeah, just showy idea, if you will. But yeah, again, super solid. After that, we have Respite by Saunter. Okay, let go. Another fun tune here, albeit maybe a bit more extroverted in a way, do you know what I mean? Like, compared to the Devath one, which was just a bit more to itself and concentrated, confined. This one feels more out there and just, yeah, just, I don't know, just larger than life is what I would say. Yeah, just, you know, again, out there. So much fun. I love that about it. It's got darkness to it, kind of melancholy weaved in as well, but for the most part, you know, I'm getting the fun of it. I'm getting the excitement of it. Really exuberant, I think, and lively. You know, just has that kind of feel of very unapologetically being itself. Do you know what I mean? Just so out there and confident in a way with what it's trying to do. I think in terms of drawbacks, you know, I'm not gonna mention it again for fear of sounding a bit like a broken record, but I mean, you can probably guess what I'm gonna talk about. A track that I thought of that's of the same kind of pace and delivery as that one would be Valak by Nosphere, and the backdrop in that one. If you just kind of transferred that over to that tune, then it would just be so much more impactful, and the idea would just have another lease of life just breathed into it. The good for me outweighing the not so good, but yeah, the drops just again could have been elevated that bit more with a bit more force to it, just surging and, you know, pushing it forward, lifting it up a bit. But you know, we can't have it all, and for the most part there, that was some good stuff again. Next up, Frog Dance, Notorin, Bang Tidy. Good production, good flavour, good sounds on show. Could have a bit more direction with the idea maybe at points, but maybe we'll get that further on here. It really is a mad mix of sounds. I mean, you can't deny that. It's just an absolute fucking whirlwind of sonic design right here, just firing out at you from any direction that it can. I mean, I wouldn't say that it kind of loses its way at any point, but I think for all the good we get here, the production's good, the range of sounds is good, and yeah, just the energy of it overall, and the relentlessness of it in a way in delivering that sound and just finding new ways to refashion it as it goes on. I do think that there wasn't really an idea to kind of remember or hang on to, you know, that might not have been the point with this song, and it would be good to know from Notorin kind of what the intention was with this tune, whether it was just meant to be a kind of outlay of a specific sound, without a proper idea, you know, shining through kind of thing. But yeah, that was my impression. A really good exhibition of that particular sound and style without having something to latch or hang on to. Bit of a way up here between the sound and the idea, you know, depending on which way you want to go with it. That will kind of dictate your enjoyment of it, I think. You know, if you push aside the fact or the need for an idea, then you're going to love it. But if you're looking for something just a bit catchy in there to kind of, you know, take your attention down a particular avenue and get you really into it, then you won't quite get that, I don't think. But yeah, don't get me wrong, a lot of good here. Moving on, Emisol by i7. Okay. Quick into it again. Oh-ho-ho! That one running quite similar to the Devath one, you know, completely different idea, of course, in terms of the presentation of the ideas and all of that. But for me, you know, the snare here, again, I mean, it's difficult to ignore, and it's straight up for me simply is not good enough in terms of backing up and supporting the idea on top. But like the Devath, I don't want that to kind of take away from the good that we get with the idea here, which is just a kind of perfect example of being, you know, not that out there, quite mellow in a way with the delivery, but the naughtiness of it is just so on point with the emotion of it and how it kind of snakes through your mind and waves and weaves along. Really good, liking that about it. Knows what it's good for and doesn't venture too far from that. There are points where I think maybe a bit more variation could have been had across the stretch of the tune in the heaviness, but no, I think what's good about that, you know, not venturing too far, is that, you know, the idea is set up quite near the beginning of the heaviness, and then it's just a thing of getting used to it as it goes on, and that is how you make memorable music, by sometimes, you know, having an idea and just repeating it so that you can rock along with it and ride along with it and just get used to it more and more as the tune goes on. So yeah, that good is here, and you know, just a few things here and there that are kind of balancing it out here. So yeah, good and not so good, basically equal measure here for me. Then System by Severe. Let's go.
This device is temporarily out of order.
Okay, little development, little progression. Going on maybe for just a bit too long by this point.
This device is temporarily out of order.
The transition into this drop was far better than the first one. The first one, even though you knew it was coming, the transition into it wasn't quite that clean. Just a part of me here that thinks it needs a bit more variety as it goes on. Just becomes like a little bit stale as it goes on each time. You get the initial impact of the idea and then just doesn't venture that far from that, if you know what I mean. Not taking away from the idea itself, it's clean and well put together. But I think, yeah, just needed maybe a bit more going on as it developed and progressed with each drop. Could have had more, but as a foundation, that tune, good. Yeah, good. I think maybe could have a VIP of some sorts where it's just built on and layered more, which I think would be cool. Next up, DeLion with IDK. I don't know, could be super duper, superly duperly savage, this one. I'm anticipating it. Fuck me. That one's just knocked me westwards a bit and, you know, hit me for 6. And it was over so quickly that I can't completely remember what, you know, what happened, what was going on. But, you know, the image I got was just, you know, if that song was a human and it had a big long hand, then that hand would go right down, you know, right down my esophagus and just take my soul, just grab my soul and rip it out, you know, just really get right in there and fucking like that, you know, really just taking all that constitutes for you as being a human, just really, you know, getting in there, ripping it out and leaving you as a kind of shell of a human being. Production wasn't his best, I wouldn't say, but we got a lot still from the outright savagery of it, the idea presented to us there. So shorter than what we usually get from him, but that just makes for an even more full-on and outrageous number. And that is what we get with I Don't Know. Yeah, full on. Moving swiftly on, we have Alternate and Dayahees? I'm probably missing something on that, but ooh, I'm not sure. But it's called Broke Beat. I know that much. For me, just got a bit lost in itself, you know, lost in that muddiness in a way. Some good touches in there, some good background stuff, you know, little sounds firing out. But for the most part, yeah, the idea, I think, just maybe gets a bit lost in the swampiness of it, you know. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Just needs a bit more going on. A few too many gaps here, spaces that could be filled with, like, you know, a bit of a flicker or a spark here and there. And also the broke beat sample, which was in the first half of the tune, was really good, and you kind of want it to be brought back in here in the heaviness, which we haven't got yet. Good example here for me of a tune that feels like it has a lot of potential, which just hasn't been fully realised. You know, that the muddiness and swampiness, which I think originally is quite good in the drops, just ends up becoming a bit expired and loses its way just a bit as it goes on, and the production kind of goes along with that. Initially quite good, but ends up becoming just a bit rough on the ear, I would say. But yeah, in my opinion, that collaboration, not quite firing in the way that it could have. After that, we have Mask and Nopu with Death Reveals Himself to the Weak, and I've seen him every day. Okay. Ooh, those sounds fucking me up, man. Not one for particular ideas shining through, I wouldn't say, in the drops, in the heaviness, you know. I'm not going to be going back to it for anything particularly memorable, I wouldn't say, but for the sounds and the overall heaviness of it, which I think the track does a good job of kind of relying on in a way, and in a good way, I think, yeah, I will be going back to it. Those kind of twangy and really weird kind of doink, 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 those were really good, and I'll be going back to it for that. And again, a thing of the heaviness carrying it through here. Yeah, that was a good aspect of it. I really like that. I think the production was on point in that regard, and the introduction, midsection and outro, from what I remember, had quite a pleasant feel to them and embellished the tune overall and kind of gave it a bit of an innocent look before the evilness came in, which was quite clever. You know, I like the way that it was executed in that way. But again, one of those where you just have to be like decent. Moving on, audio weapon Brutality. Let's do it. Oh my god. Oh, fuck. I mean, living up to its name, I'll give it that. Oh my days, what the fuck? Beyond it, very much living up to its name. It's actually a very well put together tune, you know, quite reminiscent in a way in the introduction of Excision, with that, you know, industrial modern dubstep feel to it. And then a lot of elements of Barely Alive in there, I thought, with, you know, a load of growls and just that well-formed and in-your-face, explosive modern bro-steppy sound. You know, the one bit I wasn't that big on was how each drop kind of dipped into a bit of a Bridemy moment, and the structure and percussion just changed a bit. Didn't sound as good as the more full-on and savage and brutal approach that we got before in the first half of each tune. But it can so easily again be that thing of running into being a bit too wild and out there and just not feeling cohesive and like a good mesh of the sounds we get, feeling a bit messy and all over the place. But to me, never really does feel like that. You know, it feels like every sound has a purpose here and like it has its own, you know, right position and place in the tune overall. So I'm going to have to take a bit of a breather before the next one here. Next up, we have Breaker by Chrononomical. Here we go. Yeah, a bit clunky for me in both the production and the idea, the construction and the way it's executed. Yeah. Yeah, I mean... yeah, just a bit rough for me, that one. I get what Chronomical's going for here. With the design and, yeah, the kind of full-onness of the idea. But for me, the sounds we get and the presentation of the idea, the production of it without having that much development and progression to the idea overall just makes for something that I'm not sure I would be going back to all that much, if at all. The whole mix of elements and different factors and aspects of this tune just not quite working as a whole thing, if you get me. But yeah, that one not quite for me. Then we have Phantasm by Automatic and Havel. Let's go. Kind of breakcore-y, you know? Decent idea, and I think here we're getting a clear mix of their styles, which is cool. Something just felt a bit distant about the production in that heaviness. You know, I'm not sure if we're going to get it again in the second half of the tune here. But yeah, something just felt a bit not that fresh about it, and a bit, yeah, just distant, as I said, like not quite at the forefront, you know, not quite sharp, not that actualized, if you get me. Nice switch up there, but yeah, again, not quite sure that it fits in with the tune overall. sounds aren't the relationship between them isn't quite on point, I don't think. You know, I like the drawn out feel of it, which we get when these two sounds combine. Very heavy and kind of weighty and drawn out and enduring. Yeah, I like that. But yeah, the idea kind of feels like it drags on a bit and, you know, just has a bit of a droney feel to it by the end because, yeah, the production, it just overall feels a bit, not flat, I think that'd be quite strong, but distant is the right word for it. Just, yeah, feeling a bit not actualized and kind of realized, if you get me, for the idea they're going for. The fact that it sounds like them working together makes it a cool tune, and the elements of breakcore that we got in the introduction and midsection moment are really cool as well, and kind of unique for this type of music. So, yeah, a thing here again of weighing up the good and not so good, which for me on this tune from Automatic and Havel are in pretty much equal measure. Following that, we have The Return by Moth. Let's go. Yeah, again here, that introduction with the vocal sample and the sense of story to it that we get in the midsection as well, really good. I love that, but the way that the heaviness is kind of introduced with each drop, it's a bit jarring. It doesn't quite work. Production isn't amazing. You kind of get that from the initial impact, and then from there, it's just like, kind of tells a story from there, basically. Not a lot of variation with the idea to save it from that, from it being just a bit of a barrage of sound. The vocal sample here, fantastic. When we get that throughout in the introduction and midsection, it sets you up for a bit of a spooky number actually, and then the heaviness just doesn't really fit. The two things are kind of making up for different tunes altogether, and don't for me fit alongside one another. But yeah, that would sum up my my thoughts on that one. Okay, 5 to go. First up, Kindred by Decay. Let's do it.
There was once a pale man with dark hair who was very lonely. All things must meet this man, so they shunned him.
Means accepting death.
Kind of like, which one was it before? The audio weapon, Brutality, just full on savage. Doesn't really give you any room for escape, and yeah, just glaring out at you, I think in a good way. The production's good. The idea is decent, you know, fine, not anything special, I wouldn't say, but the production carrying it through here, and some good sounds on show as well. Kind of reminding me of Fatal, you know, that squelchy, glistening, high octane and yeah, swampy sound, which isn't actually that swampy, but just has that oozy and you know, frog-like kind of delivery, which is it's cool. And when you can do it, when you can make that kind of sound and design that fresh, I think it's going to work. And with the rest of the production just backing it up and pushing it forward well, I think you're onto a good one. You're onto a bit of a winner. You know, the ideas, again, not that special, not that, you know, not that unique or doing anything new per se, but that is where the production carries it through and gives it a bit of a force and thwack that means you can rely on that a bit when it's that powerful, which is good. I like how he did that. And the vocal sample in the introduction and midsection, good as well. Giving it a bit of a charm, a bit of an element of story to it, kind of luring you in before hitting you with that filth. But yet another here, I think, of not amazing, not blowing me away per se, but a lot of good to it. And yeah, that would be that one for me. Moving forward, we have Symbiosis by Slicks and Orp Snacks. Can't say that I've heard of either of them before, but should be good. Here we go. Bearing on the wrong side of the full-on and wild and wacky approach. I think we've had a couple here before which have done or gone for something similar, but have really had the production beefing it up and allowing their music to kind of rely on that and fall back on that, with the idea being very out there and just a bit bewildering basically with the construction of sounds. But here we get a similar thing, but the blindingness of it, I think, here shines through more with, one, the production not being quite as full and rounded and without, that much kind of depth to it, if you will. And then secondly, I think the sounds we get here just a bit more piercing, a bit rougher on the ear. So it doesn't make for the best combination, I have to admit. And yeah, that very much being the main point of attention here, the kind of focal point, being that loud and abrasive and in your face. I think you've got to have the production on point, and the elements just have to have a kind of genuine relationship between them, which I'm not quite sure we get here. I think some people will like it, but for me, as someone who's looking for, more of a deep sound, a better dynamic and kind of harmony and relationship between the sounds we get, the elements we get, I'm not sure we get that here, just for me, just from what I'm hearing. Final three here. First up, Subpar Computer by Rin. Let's go. Some pretty wild sounds on show here. Yeah, loving it for that. The kind of twisted and rubbery, just that kind of stuff is really good. Liking that. Just so quick into these drops. I think could have longer, stretched out introduction, midsection moments here. Whoa, no, I have to hear that again. I forgot actually that Rin wanted to use a sample from one of my videos, and I think it's from the bloopers video. So, Dad, if you're listening, Mr. Rin has included a little sample of us both. Here we go. Yeah, that's good shit. Yeah, for me, that one got a bit lost in its idea at points and wasn't quite sure of the direction it was going in. The sounds very much just going right to the forefront and being the thing that was taking the attention, but not, I don't know, the relationship between them not being, quite that catchy or memorable, just kind of more like an outlay of sound, if you will, and seeing what he could, fit in where. That's just how each drop goes on. I think the initial impact of each one was good. I think the dynamic there was proper and on point, and yeah, just a good flow to it, I think, considering it's actually quite jagged and quite rough and quite just a bit clanky in the construction of it, but in a good way, just kind of having that weird kind of jagged flow. I think it can work sometimes, and he did that well here. Might not be completely polished here, but that kind of ambition, that kind of instinct and ingenuity with the ideas and just the way that, concepts are being constructed will bear a lot of good fruit going forward. I can imagine, well, I think that there'll just be a lot of creativity coming from Rin in the future. Not great front to back here by any means, and a lot of clear work for improvement and scope for making things better with the overall construction of his music. But no, a lot of good here, can't be denied, and yeah, gonna be very much working with that going forward. Good stuff. Penultimately, we have Escape by V98 or V98. I'm not sure. Let's go. Ooh, okay. I think I can sum this one up in quite a succinct way by saying that for me it's just like a kind of low-key butte noise, you know? The jungly theme, the sounds firing off everywhere, it's just not quite as ambitious and quite as out there, but the style, that kind of approach, very similar, I think. And not in a bad way. I mean, I like that style, the energy of it, the construction of sounds, which we're going to get very imminently yet again here. Ooh, okay, slowing down. What is going on? There we go. Everything about it. Just for me, screaming butte noise. And again, not in a bad way. The energy of it, the construction of sounds, and the dynamic between them, and the kind of liveliness that we get as a result of that, just not as fresh and sharp in the production, and I think as ambitious with the range of sounds being put together. But yeah, for me, that is, I mean, I'm just going to say it again, it just sounds like a more low-key, maybe stripped back version of butte noise and what he would bring and provide with his music. You know, not quite as colourful, not as off the wall, not as out there, not as ostentatious and just wild. That really does just sum it up, from the introduction to the builds to the drops and the midway point, the midsection, and then the outro as well. Just very much does just sum that up. If you go and listen to a load of butte noise now and then hear that, then the similarities, the likeness can be felt, can be heard. You can trust me on that. Finishing off here today with Future Tear Out by Ferlight. Okay, final one, let's go. It's just a bit messy for me, I have to be honest. That was unexpected, but welcomed, I think, as a kind of respite and breather at the end here from the noise that we were getting before, which I wasn't a massive fan of. I appreciate what Ferlight is going for here, and the whole concept of Future Tear Out and that style just being more, you know, having more colour to it and being more melodic and flavoursome, if you will, not quite as stomping and heavy and overblown. I appreciate that, you know, what he's going for, but not quite executed in the right way for me in any part of the heaviness. You know, the interlude moments are really nice, the piano and the soothing feel of that, and I think it lures you in quite a nice way, you know, quite just very innocent and peaceful. But then what follows, I don't know, yeah, just for one, it kind of comes out of nowhere, and two, yeah, just as a construction of sound, very rough, which is surprising. You know, I've heard Ferlight stuff before, and it's been so clean. But no, some nice moments here, and very peaceful at points, quite blissful in a way, but very much, I don't know, just kind of overruled and overhauled by the stuff, which is just a bit much, a bit of a mess, and yeah, for me, as I said before, a bit incoherent in comparison. So yeah, the good for me, I think, being outweighed by the not so good here, to finish off on Interim Season 5. Where this video has been going on for quite a while, so I won't keep you for much longer, but for me, bottom line here, a lot of good yet again from Interval, and like most compilations, you know, a lot of stuff here that maybe brings a compilation down quite a bit in terms of the general quality that we get from start to finish, which, you know, isn't a bad thing, expected, and I think the ones that I don't enjoy as much, other people will like them quite a bit. But yeah, as a general thing here again with this compilation, I think the first half I'm enjoying quite a bit more than the second half overall. So yeah, that's just how I'm hearing it after my first listen. Could change as I hear it again and again. But yeah, beyond that, just going to give my favourites here for Interim Season 5. We have the Exton, the Zenith and Noir, the Devath, and the audio weapon. Those four would have to be my absolute picks here from the 23. But yeah, there we have it, my live review of Interim Season 5. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. What did you guys make of the compilation? Do you have a favourite or favourites from the 23? I'm sure you do if you've just heard it here or heard it, you know, in your own time before this video and whatnot. But yeah, drop all of your views, thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Beyond that, keep it naughty. If it's naughty, then you know, and I shall see all of you legends in the next one. Peace!